person who first became part of Window Between Worlds when she started leading art workshops at one of the shelters in Los Angeles. And she used art in her own life as part of her healing. She loved the art process so much. She was one of our favorite leaders. She loved it so much that she has become a staff person. And she continues to use art as part of her own healing process as well. So here to share personally is Christy Turek. Thank you, Christy.
So as Kathy stated, I started off with the Window Between Worlds when I was working at a domestic violence shelter. And the art activities was, for me, the favorite thing that I did with my clients. It helped them heal in ways and grow in ways that I never would have thought possible. So I always have been very adept at healing others and helping others move forward from their past and talk about their past and bring that which has been shrouded in darkness to light. So I transitioned from working at the shelter to working at a Window Between Worlds and still having my heart fulfilled, being able to help survivors heal from their past. But I made an important transition as a staff member at Windows, and I went from being a facilitator, an advocate, and a leader to a participant. The statistics show that 1 out of 2 families will be affected by domestic violence. And my family was one of those families. As an early child and then into my adulthood, I suffered a very long history of sexual abuse. And they say that shame only can grow in the dark. And I kept that in the dark for most of my life. And I found myself as a participant in the very first workshop, the very first Pearls of Wisdom pilot workshop with Kim. And I was able to bring all of that shame and my dark past to the light. And as a result, I healed. There's a portion of the workshop where we literally take bandages, much like you would create to make a cast, and we would literally bandage up that irritant, that part of our abusive past. And I thought to myself, wow, that's what this is. This is a healing environment. A cast, it creates an environment so that you can heal. I hadn't had an environment that allowed me to heal and move forward from my abusive past like I did that day. And I didn't realize what a profound effect it had had on me until later that very night, when I found myself in a sadly very similar and familiar situation of being at the precipice of being abused once again. But for the very first time, I had discovered my voice, and I spoke my voice, and I said no, and I protected myself in a way that I had never been able to before. With my long history of abuse, I had trained myself to shut down and detach from my physical self, detach from my voice. But that day, I discovered it, and I used it. And I'm so much stronger as a result, and I have Kim and Kathy to thank for helping propel my healing forward in ways that countless therapists and counselors and you name it couldn't. So it's my honor and privilege to be here with all of you who are so special to my heart, because it's because of you, the work that you do and how you support Windows and advocate for us, that's going to allow other survivors like me to come out from the darkness for the first time and leave their shame in the past and step into their wisdom. I invite all of you to share my story. It's actually in the catalog. I'm very proud of that. I never thought that I'd ever speak about my past in public, much less be proud that it's somewhere so permanent. So again, thank you for all that you have done and all you will continue to do.
Different heights for different folks. Thank you so, so much. The catalog is another way, another tool to connect. I've had friends say that they've shared it. This allows you to make connections with conversations on this topic, and people have found it really, really powerful. What I'd like to do, because it is a conversation, is invite Kim and Kathy and Christy to join me here. And I'm going to just ask each of them to just share, as they were listening, something that touched them in just a few words, because I think it's important when we have a conversation that we always remember speaking and listening. So Kim, you got to go first. If you would just share something that touched you as you just listened to Christy, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, what crossed my mind is finding a place for the story. The odd thing about the story, and what I mean by that also, is that each person has that life, that moment, that struggle, that irritant, and there's a definite desire to always want to tell people that story. And I did that for a long time. Like, you'd grab a friend and you'd tell them maybe bits, but it doesn't quite make it, it doesn't help. It's just, I think sometimes the kind of negatives and the horror and the trauma of domestic violence and sexual assault situations, we're a little bit riveted toward them, honestly. I mean, right? I always refer to it, why the Lifetime movie network, why it's so popular, right? And I think the process and what happened with Christy, because I remember very vividly that day with her, I think it found a place for that story that didn't pretend it didn't happen, but really made this cathartic process to deal with it, to really find what's the goodness out of the story. I don't want to stick with the story. Get it? Thanks.
Why don't you stay up? And Christy, as you were listening to Kathy speak, just something poignantly, real quick, that touched your heart that you'd like to share.
I always get thanked for the work that Kathy does as one of the staff members at Windows. And so it always just strikes me to hear your story, because I know from firsthand experience over the years, all of my countless clients that I've done this with, and how much this has touched them. And it's overwhelming to think that she didn't even mean to do that. Like, it's incredible, but it's from the kindness of your heart. And Kathy has this wonderful ability, and it's infectious, to look at us survivors and those of us who have been through trauma and not see us as that traumatic event, but see us as that strong person who came out of it with so much strength and wisdom and valuing our stories and giving us a platform to speak our stories and for our stories to be valued and heard. I mean, for us survivors and my clients I've served, that's unheard of. So that's what sticks with me.
And Kathy. I just went to the bone density test, found out I lost an inch, but this is absurd. I'll have to start buying high heels. Kathy, would you share what touched you with Kim?
Listening to Kim, her tremendous grace, her gratitude, her humility in this process, and her willingness to travel back to her story, because that's not an easy thing to do. And for her to stand here and share that she had to wrestle with that, to face that, or to publicly talk about that, even standing here today. And that's a huge thing. It's a huge gift. It's a gift for all the survivors that have been part of this project. And it's not a small thing. It's a huge thing. So thank you so much, Kim. I do want to talk about all of you for a moment before we go out and see the show, because I want you to know, as Kim handed me those pearls, and as Sandra mentioned, that there's a hands-on part of this project. There's a sign on the title wall of the Pearls of Wisdom exhibit here. At the bottom of it, it says that the whole community is welcome to share their pearl. of wisdom. Each of us, whether you're a survivor or not, your voice is vital. Your voice is needed. We've all been through different things. We've all survived different things. We bring unique perspectives, unique wisdom to our relationships. And Pearls of Wisdom is about each of us noticing that wisdom, putting it into a tangible form on a pearl, and bringing that wisdom to our actions in the world. And I hope that each of you today will actually create a pearl of wisdom. We have a table right in the back there, and there's also a table in the Ruby Gallery where you can literally sit there with pastels, with pens, whether it's one word, whether it's a scribble, whether it's one color or shape. I hope that you'll take just a little window of time for yourself, as we do with the survivors in the shelters. This is your window of time to honor what's inside. Sometimes I think we shy away from it because we think, oh, I can't create a masterpiece. That's not what this is about. This is about looking inside and honoring what's there. And I hope that each and every one of you will take that moment and honor whatever your first thought is and create a pearl. And we will upload that online as part of the community wall. It can be anonymous, it could have your name, it could have whatever words you want with it. I just hope that you'll each be part of this, because being at the Skirball is incredible. It's an incredible gift. But it's also a responsibility to really call the community to action, to raise awareness. And I'd like you all to be part of that voice. And I'd like to thank the person who is the reason that we are at the Skirball. Corinna, where are you? Can you stand up? Corinna White is curator for Half the Sky, and she saw the Pearls of Wisdom exhibit at the Korean Cultural Center. Is Heesan here? Heesan from the Korean Cultural Center was maybe going to be here. She saw the exhibit and she shared it with the Skirball, and that is why we're here today. I am so honored. What a better gift could there even, there's nothing more imaginable for our 20th anniversary to be here. Thank you. And I want you all to know that you're part of this voice. I want you to make a pearl. You'll each, as you leave, you'll get a little card that talks about this exhibit, and it has the address where you can upload your own pearl online. So if you're someone who wants to do it at home and upload it yourself online, you can feel free. And in the online part, you can share the pearls. I'd like you to go to that part of the website and look at the pearls. You can comment on them, you can like them on Facebook, you can share them with your friends on Facebook. It's all part of the community aspect of how we are raising the dialogue about domestic violence and about the wisdom that we each bring to ending it. So I hope that you'll do that. I hope that you'll also consider sharing this on Facebook or some other way. You can share it with a group, and Sandra mentioned the number of viewers that were going to come through, and that maybe we could up that to more. Sandra is willing to actually lead private tours. If you have a group, or a school group, a women's group, a book group, any group that you would want to come see this and to actually participate hands-on, we can do that. We have 6 months to let people know. There will also be a hands-on workshop led by Kim and Sandra together where you could make a spherical pearl. And there's little flyers for that at the exhibit where we'll end the walkthrough. It's on the 16th of October. What an amazing opportunity to do that. So be part of it. Make a pearl. Share it with friends. Share it with schools. If any of you have kids that need to do community service, you saw that the pearls, it's a wonderful thing to share, to get students thinking about the role that they play in their relationships and how that affects the world. So be a part of it. And finally, I want to share that during the 6 months, me personally, as founder, as executive director, I just want to share with you my goal, because over the last few years, our programs have doubled. The number of shelters seeing how art makes a critical difference in the healing process for clients. It's part of their mission. They need to open up safety, they need to build trust, they need to create change. How do they do that? They see how art can unlock so much change. What we do becomes part of their core, but we work with 175 shelters. There's 3,000 in this nation. Our conservative goal is to add 100 over the next 3 years. And so as executive director, knowing the number of shelters that want to start the art program, my goal is to raise support to accomplish that. And I welcome you all to be part of that. We're going to have a benefit, a fundraiser here on February 8th, the last month of this exhibit being here. And at that fundraiser, we're going to be raising money to kick off that effort to start the 100 new programs. And I welcome you to be part of that. Email me, call me, I'll call you. Just let me know anything. Who do you know? Who do you think would love to see this happen for the women and children? So that is what I'd like to see. I'd love for you just to look at this 6 months and think, what can you do to be part of it? I feel like this is a huge responsibility, an honor, a gift, and a responsibility to make a difference. So I welcome you to be part of that. Thank you so much.
This is an incredible opportunity, and what comes of it, it is up to each of us. The full name of the project is Pearls of Wisdom in the Violence, a Community Engagement Project. And we are the community. So you may imagine something, as Kathy has said, that hasn't even occurred to us as a really wonderful way to say yes to this. And if each person, in just their own small way, my friend Gretchen Hayes has been reaching out, to organizations on the East Coast that might be interested in this exhibition. Just in saying yes, Niku Kashyap is here. She's the president of the Women's Caucus for Art. They said yes to Kathy as the financial support receiver for Windows before it was a nonprofit. So it was like a lot of people that you didn't look and think that you were highly structured or whatever sort of touches at whatever threshold. If you have friends who are coming to Noah's Ark, and just encourage them to also have a family conversation about this, the importance of healthy families. I mean, we want windows to be less necessary. It is incredibly vital, but we want it to be less necessary. So let's all do this work together. I think there's an enormous opportunity for conversation that will happen informally during the walkthrough. So we're going to meet in about 5 minutes outside across from the bookstore, which is just right here. And the walkthrough will be introduced by Kathy and Kim. And there'll be much, much more sharing about that kind of time. Just as we conclude, and you'll also be able to share, I think at the end of that, kind of what really also touched you. But if there's just 1 or 2 people that would love to just state briefly, 3, 4 words, whatever, just something that really resonates from this conversation that we've had with these 3 amazing women today, I'd love to hear from you. Anyone? Well, then we'll take it in a kind of wonderful meditative mode, and the conversations will happen between people. That's just the very best way. Thank you so much for joining us today.